Welcome to IATAI for Life. Uh, Welcome to our little website and little corner of the world. I want to first say thank you for your interest in holistic health or perception rehabilitation or just health in general, healing, or just kind of curious as to what in the world it is that we do and what we talk about. Whatever reason you're here, thanks. so, so what are we? What do we do? What is it that makes IATAI? That's, by the way, how you pronounce it, IATAI. What makes it, whatever it is? Well, I'll tell you first what we are not, okay? And what you won't really find here, okay? You won't find a lot of symptom management. You won't find a lot of programs like that. You won't find anything around anywhere that says anything about, lose 50 pounds this week, on our program. It's just not really what we're about. We don't spend a lot of time focusing on symptoms, and there's some reasons why, which we'll get into, but it's just not who we are and what we do, because we are holistic, and so there's a bit more to our health and our well-being and who we are than just the physical side of things. So that being said, there's a beautiful quote out there from Buckminster Fuller that says, if you want to create change, then you're going to create a new model that makes the old model obsolete. And so that's kind of the journey that we're on. We are all about change and transformation within our lives, not just about fixing, something that's sore, something that's sick, or something that's whatever. Inevitably, those things do take place, but only after we've spent some time really transforming who we are. And so that's kind of what we're about here. What is holism? Well, holism comes from the Greek word holos, that is the root of the word, which basically means whole or complete. And so when we talk about holistic health, we're talking about complete health, not just the body. Okay. We don't want to just, focus on, the physical, observable pieces of us. We want to actually talk about the health of the complete human. Yes, the complete human is more than just our body. And science is entirely aware of this and documents it quite freely. A lot of mainstream, type tendencies will tend to deny that, but it doesn't mean that it's not, that science isn't studying it and observing it and documenting it like crazy all the time. So what then is a complete human? Well, in looking at a whole gamut of different things from science and faith-based studies and all of those different types of things, I need to find something that is consistent and that is measurable and definable. And so there's a lot of terms and a lot of things out there that aren't consistently definable, and so we don't use them. But the things that we have found that are consistently definable and consistently used through all areas of human understanding have been this: we are a body, mind, and spirit. And that is our whole self as we understand it. And it is super, super complex, and in ways that we have never and maybe will never really fully understand. But that is what we define as the makeup of what is a complete human: body, mind, and spirit. And so as we look at that, we look at then, what does health look like? Not just as we pull the pieces apart, because we don't want to pull the pieces apart. That's not whole, that's not complete. But we will isolate the parts for the sake of defining them. And so what we define, or how we use holism in this case, is an awful lot based on a statistic that I discovered quite a few years back that really just kind of revolutionized my approach to health and my approach to my own life and all of those things. Was this crazy, crazy statistic that says 75 to 90% of all doctor visits are stress related. 90%. 90% of all doctors, that's a lot of doctors visits. I don't know how many doctor visits you've had lately. I have not had any, but um, but but there are a lot. Every time I go by a doctor's office, uh, they're packed full of people. That's a lot of doctor's visits, and the American Medical Association and every other organization association around the nation are using the same statistic. 75 to 90% of all the people who grace their doors is stress related. Well, that completely transformed everything about the way that I approach these things. And so the new model that I said is like, you know what, if I could figure out a way to eliminate stress in my life, eliminate unwanted stress, we'll get to that, but eliminate stress, then I could eliminate 75 to 90% of our modern medical system. And not so much approach to the system, but to the reasons why people use it for every random thing that you don't need to be using it for, because we're using it for stress related symptoms. Well, so if we could figure out how to eliminate the stress, then we could figure out how to eliminate 75 to 90% of the reasons why we need to seek someone else's opinion and services for our own well-being. And that was super intriguing to me. So that's what we did. So when IATAI approaches holism, the body, mind, and spirit, and how does holistic health come in, we take it from a stress standpoint. And so the body, we look at it as that which is observable. It's our physical, tangible, measurable, observable piece of our body. And we look at it from the autonomic nervous system standpoint. So the sympathetic and parasympathetic nervous systems, basically our stress response. Okay. We call them the survival mode and the safety mode, so that we can get very, very specific as to what's happening and when it's happening, and we can notice it, observe it, and identify exactly what's happening within the body. And once the body has demonstrated through very specific autonomic nervous system traits, we then can become completely aware that that is coming from a trigger that we call perception. Okay, the perception of some sort of threat, the perception of something that's going crazy or whatever, is what activates that nervous system. Okay, those perceptions we give to the role of the mind. Okay, again, pretty consistent throughout studies and throughout observations in different communities around the world, that the mind's job is perception. So we call those basically lenses. It's not the what we see, that's through our physical eyeballs, but it's the how we see the world. Okay, the how we see the world is translated through a series of lenses that we get as we grow up, and and we get kind of as we go around through life, and we identify different things that either by the authority of people, parents, and or doctors, or professors, or whoever, different authority figures, whoever it is that we have determined are authority figures in our life, or through just consistent chains of events that basically build a system of proofs for us, evidence. And whatever it is we do, we take those and they kind of become this new lens that we've chosen. And that's how we see the world. And they're not stuck, just like these aren't stuck. I prefer them. I keep them on pretty much all day long, because basically all of you disappeared when I took them off. And so I'll keep them on pretty much all the time. But it doesn't mean I can't change them. I can switch them to sunglasses, or I can switch them to, safety glasses. I can switch them to different types of things based on whatever my needs are. And our perceptions are very similar, and they are not so much fluid, but they're chosen. Okay. And that's one of the main principles that we deal with here at IATAI, is it's to empower you that you are in control of how you perceive the world. Okay. And that you can create lenses, and you can change lenses, all day long if you so choose. If this situation is not getting you to respond the way you want to, just think about it a little bit different way. Okay. And we understand that those perceptions come from a slightly deeper place. They come from a spiritual place. And when we deal with the spirit, we deal with with basically our underlying beliefs. Okay. What are our belief systems? What is true for us? Okay. What is our truth? And that's not to say that truth is subjective, but whatever it is that we identify as our truth, which is the definition of the word belief, becomes just that to us. And so obviously we can explore ourselves, and that's part of the journey of perception rehabilitation, is to begin to observe and be aware of what it is that we really believe about the world around us that's causing us to see the world the way that we see it, which is in effect making our bodies respond the way that it's responding to the world around us. Okay. Our spirit is about our connection, connection to spiritual things above us, connections to spiritual things around us, people, and all of that stuff. It's about our beliefs and it's about our connection. Now, obviously, each of the components of the self are far more complex. They do far more things than all of the stuff that we're talking about. But when we're getting into our approach to holistic health, then that's what we're mostly focusing on. Okay. And it allows you the opportunity and the freedom and the empowerment to seek out people who are more equipped to really get into the mind and how these mental things really work, and seek out those professionals. The body, we can get into, all of the amazing nuances of the body. And we do spend a little bit of time within IATAI doing nutritional coaching and consultations, working on nutritional plans and those types of things, because those help bring the body into its own version of safety. Okay. And spiritual side, there are a lot of folks out there who can help you to get more developed in spiritual matters. And so we just take it from the approach of the things that are necessary in order to understand the fundamental side of the visible body leads to problem perceptions, which helps us to identify underlying beliefs that led to that stress activation. And if we can then correct all of that, transform all of that, we then inevitably have eliminated unwanted stress within our lives. We don't want to eliminate all of it. Our stress mode is there for a reason. It's designed very, very, efficient in order to allow us to escape threat. The question is, what is threatening to us? Is our job threatening to us, or is a mugger threatening to us? Is our children coming home from school threatening to us? Is a job interview? Our neighbors, crowded spaces? What is it that's really actually threatening to us? And is it actually threatening, or do we just think of it as threatening? Okay. It's my belief that wholeness can be accomplished by anybody. And the reason for that is because it's not a destination that we have to find. It's a journey that we're on. And it's our journey, and it's personal to us. And so as a result, we can achieve wholeness. And it can start now. Okay? It can start now. And just like we started kind of this new model to make some change, you can start a new model of you. And that's the premise that we use here in our holistic health education and training, is that you can start a brand new you. Build it from the ground up. Start with what's true, build new beliefs, establish new lenses, and have brand new physical responses that are safe and healing and growing. Thrive, not survive. Okay? This is the basic idea of who we are and what we do here. Is it possible? Absolutely. I'm not just the president, I'm also a client. But this is the transformative journey that I went on that got me where I am. And some of the things that we've been through, you can find on the website, and look at some of the things that my family and myself have gone through in our own healing journeys. And this has been fantastic for all of us. So many friends and family members over the years have jumped on this train and started to kind of investigate things a little bit differently. You just have to change your mind about some of this stuff. and just test the waters and see how it works for you. It does work because this is how humans function. And that's the basic premise. We function this way. What we believe creates what we perceive, and what we perceive creates physiological effect in our bodies. So if the system can be started and manipulated throughout our lives, why can't we restart it and manipulate it ourselves? Okay, that's kind of the question, kind of the foundation. So feel free, surf around the site and take a look at our different courses. We change them and add them all the time. And as we get, fully rolling, we're going to add a complement of all sorts of different things. Feel free to book some consultations with me and spend some time one-on-one and see just, how this journey can go for you. Jump in and take our classes. We're starting new foundation classes all the time. Yes, they are basically live current classes. And so it's not entirely a self-paced journey where you can just enroll whenever you want and just take it at your leisure. We start them at different increments, and I am involved in looking at and critiquing and giving feedback for all of your reflection papers and different quizzes and assignments that come up through it. It is academic, okay? The things that we have involved here are not, they're not fluff, and they're not silly, okay? I have put a lot of my life at a very high academic level into my own journey, and I want to share that at a significantly high academic level. But that doesn't mean that anyone can't take it. I'm a school educator, during the day, and have taught all of these courses. In fact, my 9-week foundations course has been taught to my junior hires and high schoolers exactly the way that you see it. So, and they did just fine. They had a great time with it. It was a great growing experience for them as well. Not nearly as revolutionary for them because they're young and it just makes sense to them. But for those of us who are a bit older and we've spent a good bit of time, really working hard to make ourselves kind of a mess, then it is what it is. But yeah, so it is a little bit academically stringent. It does require most of them about an hour or so a day. Pretty much all of our classes, it's kind of built around the premise of setting aside about an hour a day. And some of you can spend longer than that. You can read and reread things. You can go further and do some study into stuff. You can watch the videos and read the handouts and things a number of times in order to take this journey wherever you want it to go. Okay? The main premise of what we want to get across to you is that no matter what your journey is, there's no failure. Okay? You cannot fail at life. It's just not a thing. It's not possible. There is no failure in life. No different than when you were a toddler or your kids are toddlers and they're learning to tie their shoes. Okay? Just because they didn't get it figured out the very first time doesn't mean that we called them failures and told them that they should have just quit. Yeah, you'll never learn to tie your shoe if you couldn't figure it out in the first 5 minutes. Because that's not how life works. It's a process. It's a journey. We're learning new things. We're experiencing new things. We're transforming all the time. They're not goals that if we don't get to them at a certain time, we have failed at this project. That's typically how a lot of the diets and a lot of those types of things end up working, and they get us to a place of more survival mode. It's not really what we're about here. Okay? There's no failure in life. This is just beginning to start a new life. Build it however you want. Take as much time as you want to do it. Figure it out as you go. You are a matter of your own creation at this point in time. Be whoever you want to be. Okay? No failure, just survival and safety here at IATAI.